Everyone, welcome in. Looks like a few of you were already waiting in the waiting room there for us, letting us get some time to get started here. We'll give everybody just a few more minutes to jump in, and I'm just going to get a couple of nails ready to go here. We're going to be doing some fun designs. I'm kind of changing it up a little bit today. And as you may have noticed, it is Karen today. Greg is not doing live today. He's actually doing a class on our Zoom, so he is not going to be in today, but I am going to be doing some fun designs with you guys today and showing you kind of a cool, kind of a trendy kind of a design that I've seen out there in the world a lot. So we'll give everybody just a little bit more time to jump in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And hopefully you guys are having a wonderful Monday. I think it's Monday today. It's been a busy weekend, and hopefully everybody else had a great weekend. Hopefully you guys are back in the swing of things today. Maybe everybody's starting to break for summer vacation. The kids are home. All you guys are off of school. That is fantastic. So welcome in to our Young Nails Live today. And I got a couple of nails here ready to go. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like some people have been able to join in our live stream today. And you guys, if you are new to our channel, make sure that you do hit that subscribe button so that you can get notifications when we do go live, and you can always join us. All right, let's see who is here today. Look at all these regulars. I love seeing all these regulars here. Miss Nas Big, Top Nail, Connie, Elizabeth, Adriana, Marie's Nails, Nika, and I apologize, is it Majken from Denmark? I'm so sorry I did not pronounce your name right, but welcome. I love seeing you back every time. Brenda, Biba, Kailani, I love that name. That's beautiful. I hope I pronounced it right. Everybody else, welcome in. Lots of people joining us today. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be doing a gel nail. I know, surprise, surprise, I do tend to do a lot of gel, but I'm going to be doing a gel nail for you guys today. But whatever design or whatever kind of nail you're going to do, you're always going to start with pushing back cuticles and doing your prep. So I'm going to be using, this is actually one of our tools from our implement kit. I'm going to be using that one today. Gonna just get that cuticle area pushed back. BR from the Twin Cities, you are my neighbor. I love it. Welcome in. All right, so we got our cuticles pushed back. Then we're gonna come in and remove the shine with our electric file. And I'm using a new sanding band. This one is a medium grit. It was a 150 grit. And we're gonna turn my speed on my electric file to about 5,000 RPMs. Okay, nice and slow, low and slow here. And let me just readjust here. All right, so we're going to work kind of in a circular motion around that cuticle. So you can kind of see how I'm moving that bit in a circular motion. Just slow, kind of short little strokes right up around that cuticle. This is going to help to clean off any excess protein growth, any of that dead cuticle. You guys, my cuticles are very rough today because I've been out in the yard doing a lot of work out there, but I do want to show you. So what we're really trying to push back here, we're trying to push back that eponychium. Okay, so that eponychium is, let me come in a little closer. There we go. So that eponychium is this skin right back here. It's what a lot of people really do call the cuticle, but is actually the eponychium. The true cuticle is once we push that back, you're going to start to see that kind of white flaky stuff that's all stuck down onto that nail. See all this right down here? That is your actual cuticle, and all that white flaky stuff, that is the dead skin, okay? So that's what we're really gonna try to be removing when we're pushing back our cuticles here and when we're removing shine from that nail. So we're really trying to just clean off all of that dead tissue, that dead protein growth off of that nail so that our product is gonna adhere really well. So I'm coming up around those short little strokes. And then when I get to this corner, I'm going to stay in kind of that diagonal motion or that diagonal area, I guess. And I'm going to just lightly start to feather. Now, what I mean by feather is I'm not going to come all the way across and just kind of grind on the nail. That's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is I'm actually going to just kind of feather in quick motion through that whole length of the nail, okay? And what that's going to do is, you can see it's lightly removing the shine. It's breaking up the surface oils on the surface of that nail, and it's giving our nail just a little bit of texture, okay? Now the reason that we want to do those quick, just little short strokes like that, rather than trying to come all the way across, is you can actually see when I do all the way across like that, you can see all of that dust that's coming up. That's going to take off way too much of that natural nail. We don't want to do that. So again, just kind of coming in, those light feathering kind of a motion, just enough to remove that shine, okay? Once you've removed the shine, I'm going to show you guys on here. So same thing over here. Gently right up around that cuticle area, and then just those light feathering motions. Now once you've removed the shine from this area, you're not going to go back over that area again. You're going to continue to work in the rest of the area, the rest of that nail that has shine, okay? If you try to go over and re-prep and re-prep and re-prep, first of all, it's going to take you more time than what you're going to need. You're wasting time. And you guys, we all know, I hate saying it, but time is money, okay? So it's going to take you more time if you're just going over and over. It's also going to start to lead to damage. If you continue to keep prepping and re-prepping that whole surface, you can start to thin out that natural nail. We don't want to do that. So again, all we're doing, just a light circular motion right up around the cuticle, and then just lightly feathering over the nail once, just to kind of break up the surface oils, okay? So that's all we're really going to do for our prep and removing shine. Then we're going to come in with our manicure brush and just dust off that nail. And you guys always notice that I dust in the direction that the nail grows. So let me come out here. So I'm brushing in this direction, so kind of along the length of the finger, along the length of the nail. I'm not brushing across. When you're brushing downward, that's going to pull all of that dust out of the cuticle area, down out of those sidewalls. If you're brushing across the nail, it's actually going to push the dust down into those sidewalls. So make sure that when you're dusting off the nail, you dust in the direction that the nail grows, okay? We're going to come back to our swipe, and our swipe has, let me see if I can get a little better view. So our swipe has a little pump on the top. I'm going to use my manicure brush, and I'm just going to pump a little bit of that swipe into my brush. And actually somebody asked on an earlier stream, does that contaminate the product in here? And it doesn't, okay? These pumps, the product, anything that's up in the little top cup here is never going to go back down in there. So it's not going to contaminate anything back in the rest of the bottle. So if you were the person that asked that question, I apologize, I don't remember the name of that. But if you did ask that question, it is not going to contaminate anything that's back down in the bottle, okay? And swipe is actually our antiseptic, and so that's why we're using it on the nail. So again, it's going to kill any germs that may even be on the swipe bottle to begin with. But swipe is our antiseptic. It's going to help to cleanse that nail. It's going to remove any dust from the nail. It's going to kill off any germs, any bacteria that might be on the nail. And then once that dries, it's going to go back to kind of that nice, clean, dry, chalky look again. Got a little piece of dust up on there. Want to make sure that that's all cleaned off. Okay, so that's the importance of using our swipe, is to clean off that nail. Again, remove any extra surface oils from the nail and remove any bacteria or anything grungy that might be on that nail, because we want to make sure that it's a nice clean surface before we put our product on top of it. Okay, now again, you'll start to see it's starting to come back to kind of that dry, chalky look. Okay, we got a little bit that's hasn't quite dried. Now on a real person, on real fingers, it's going to dry a lot faster, but because our little trainer hand, we call her Sally, if she doesn't have any blood flow underneath, she's not very warm. So it's going to take you a little bit longer on your trainer hands than it may on your actual real life clients. Okay. Next thing we're going to use is our protein bond. Protein bond is our bonder. You can see on the bottle it says non-acid adhesion, which means a lot of primers out there have methacrylic acid to them. And methacrylic acid it's not, the safest thing if you do accidentally get it onto your skin. Now, all of these products, whether it's ours or another brand, you want to make sure that you're keeping product off the skin. You want to make sure that you're only applying product to that natural nail, okay? Any product that you do get on the skin over time, if you're overexposing yourself or your client to that product, you can start to get reactions. So you want to make sure that you're applying your product carefully and just onto that natural nail. Now you can see I did 2 coats, which is what we want, but I also want to show you that as I apply my protein bond, I start in the center of the nail and then I brush forward and then I start to work back closer to that cuticle. The reason for that is because when I start, my brush is going to have a lot more product on it, so I start in the middle so that it doesn't flood out onto the cuticles or the sidewalls. I work again towards the free edge and then start to work back as that product is being put onto the nail, and there's less of it in my brush. So there's less likelihood that I'm going to get product on my skin accidentally. So that's again why I work from that center area forward and then back towards my cuticle area. Again, you always want to make sure that you're getting as close to the cuticle as possible without touching. Okay, so that's our protein bond. Let's get into our form. So we're going to be using one of our standard traditional forms here today. So with our forms, what I want to do to put this onto the nail, this is kind of one of those things that I always struggled with when I went to school and when I was first starting to do nails. I stayed with tips because I didn't really understand how forms worked, and I just would try to shove them up underneath that client's nail and then it would hurt, and I finally did learn how to apply a form. So this is how my techniques for applying forms. You're always going to take that little tab out of the back or out of the center. If you just leave it out, your form is going to be kind of flimsy feeling. It's not going to feel very sturdy. But if you take that tab and put that on the back of your form, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. It's okay. But if you put that tab on the back, our form now has a little bit more structure. It has a little bit more firmness to it, so it's going to feel a little bit more secure when it's on the nail. Okay, so always put that little tab on the back, and then I'm going to take, we've got these 2 little silver tabs right here and right here. We're going to pinch those 2 tabs together as evenly as we can. Okay, you want to make sure that they're not lopsided. If you pinch them together lopsided like that, what's going to happen is, if we take a look at this form, do you see how we've got this bold line? That bold line right down the center of the form here, it's supposed to be down the center of the form, but right now it's off to the side. What that means is my nail is actually going to be shifted off to the side, and I'm never going to be able to sculpt a straight nail. So again, you want to make sure that you get these 2 little silver tabs together as evenly as you can. Okay, let me show you that one more time. So same thing, I'm going to take my form off the paper. I'm going to take that little tab out of the center. I'm going to put that on the back. And then we're going to pinch those tabs together as evenly as we can. And it's okay if you take a couple of extra seconds to get it perfect like that. It's better to take those couple of extra seconds to get that form pinched together right, rather than ending up with a crooked nail that you're going to have to fix or repair, or I'd hate to say it, redo it. Okay? Now, on a real client, normally what I would do is I would open up this little perforation on top. It works a lot easier, so if your client is moving her finger around, let me show you here really quick, okay? If your client is moving her finger around, this actually helps to keep that open. So that way you can just secure that on her finger. Don't stick it down, okay? Because what can happen is if you stick that form down on there and she bends her finger, it's actually going to pucker and pop that form up underneath that nail, okay? So on a real person, I do tend to like to open those up. Now, I'm going to show you guys a trick. When you are practicing, we're going to do this one more time, okay? When you are practicing your forms on your trainer hands, I actually like to leave that little perforation closed. I feel like it helps me to kind of secure that onto our trainer hand a little bit easier. And it's just a little bit easier to put the form on. So again, I'm just going to pop that right up underneath the nail, lift up at the end, and I'm going to secure that down. Okay, so nice and easy. Now you can see that silver line, that bold silver line down our form is now straight in line with our finger. Okay, now here's a trick. You want to make sure that you're looking at that whole finger when you're putting your forms on, because sometimes a client's nail is actually a little bit crooked. On my nails, these 2 nails are actually a little bit crooked and they kind of shift off to the side. So if I line my form up with my nail itself, it's actually going to get sculpted on crooked. I actually have to shift that form just a little bit to the other direction, so that way my nail is actually straight in line with my finger, and when I do my whole set, they all look nice and straight, and I don't have one nail kind of going off to the side, okay? So keep that bold line in mind when you're putting your forms on, and again, making sure that that form is straight in line with that finger, okay? And again, it looks like we got a lot of people joining us, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Those newbies today, make sure that you do hit that subscribe button so that you can always get those great notifications and you'll know when we do go live again, okay? Rachel Ann, looks like you've got some crooked nails. Looks like a couple of people are telling me they've got some crooked nails. And you guys, a lot of your clients are going to have some crooked nails. They may be just slightly off, but if you know how to restructure and straighten out that nail and make it look all nice and straight, your clients are going to love you. They are going to love the fact that you're able to do that, okay? Okay, so you guys, if you've been with me for a little while here, you know I tend to like to use the concealer pink gel. Today I'm going to mix it up a little bit. We do have a different gel. It's our concealer peach. This is a little bit of a warmer tone gel. So if you like the opaque gels, we have the concealer pink and peach. The pink is a little bit on the cooler side and the peach is a little bit on the warmer side. Same application techniques, just a little different color today, okay? Okay, so we're going to start by building out our extension first. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit of my gel from my little applicator here right to the center of my free edge. And I'm going to just kind of start to draw and drag that up into the corner of my nail. Let me come in a little bit closer. You guys can see a little bit better. There we go. So again, just kind of drawing that up into that corner. I'm going to come back. I might squeeze out just a little bit more. I think I need a little bit more product. And again, just dragging that up into that corner, okay? Now that I've got my product connected, I'm gonna squeeze out a little bit more and then just kind of bringing this from side to side and down the length of my form. This is gonna build kind of a platform for us to be working on, okay? Now, if you're a newbie, you want to make sure, well, if you're anybody that's doing nails, you want to make sure that you're more floating the product rather than trying to press it or bounce. Gel is a different kind of a technique than if you're used to working with acrylic. So make sure that you tend to stay on the top of the product rather than kind of brushing or pressing down into that product, okay? I'm going to just kind of draw this out a little bit. We're not going to go too crazy on our length today because I'm going to show you a fun design over the top of this, and that's what we want our focus on to be today. So I'm going to grab my little ceramic tile here, and I like to use this and have it handy to clean my brush out. So if I have a little extra gel on my brush, I can use that to clean out my brush, okay? I'm going to kind of flatten out my brush here, and then I'm going to use the side edge. And I'm going to just draw that product right up the side and right into that sidewall. I have a little product on my brush there, you can see. I'm going to clean that off. Excuse me. I'm going to clean that off onto my tile. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now for me, I turn my brush. So here I was working here. And I'm going to just basically come back over to the other side and then again pull back. Okay, right up into those sidewalls. So now you can see my product comes nice and straight up that edge. If we turn that straight, you can see that it's coming pretty well straight out from that natural nail. And I'm not going to have a ton of filing once I finish this nail. Because I took a little bit of extra time to really clean up that sidewall, it's going to make it much easier for me to do my finishing. I'm not going to have a lot of product hanging down on the side. Okay. Let's kind of clean up our free edge a little bit. We're going to make more of an almond shaped nail today. I think I've done a lot of stilettos recently, so let's kind of shorten it up, make it a little bit more, I'm not going to necessarily say active length, but not quite as long as a stiletto, okay? I'm just going to set my little mixing tile and my brush off to the side. We're going to come into our light, and I'm going to freeze this into place, okay? Now, like I said, I'm going to move anything that has gel on it away from my light because I want to make sure that that light is still kind of coming out. You can still get a little bit of curing just right outside the light here. So anything that has gel on it will cure if it's in front of the light here. So that's why I want to make sure that my brush, my mixing tile, anything that has gel on it is away from that light so it's not going to cure, okay? So this was in there for a quick 30-second freeze. The next product that we're going to use is our Concealer Peach Base. So for our Concealer Pink gel, we have a Concealer Pink base. And these work really well together. This is going to give us a pigmented base layer. Okay, so you're never going to have any kind of marbling or layering kind of a look if you do go, like if you were to say use the clear base. Sometimes when you do your fill, you may end up seeing that little bit of clear under there. So that's why we've got our Concealer Pink and Peach to go with our Concealer Pink and Peach gels. Okay, so with our base gel, let me grab that a little bit closer here for you guys to see. There we go. So with our base gel, I'm just going to kind of drag my brush right through that base, tap off that little string, and I've got a little tiny pearl on my brush here. I don't need a whole lot of base when I am applying it. I'm not trying to build up structure. All I'm trying to do is give myself a foundation layer. So again, I'm just going to kind of brush that, and sometimes I tend to start from the middle. If I feel like I have a lot of product on my brush, I'll start in the middle and kind of work that out, and then I'll work back to my cuticle. So again, I don't flood that product into my cuticle. Now, if I were to only pick up just a teeny tiny little bit like that, and I knew that I wasn't going to worry about flooding into the cuticle, I could actually start a little bit closer, but I never start right at that cuticle because again, I want to make sure I'm not flooding product at the cuticle. And you guys, your gels do move. They do kind of self-level a little bit. They can run a little bit. So you want to make sure that you always have good control, okay? If you do get any of that gel on the skin, again, like we talked about earlier, you have that tendency to lead to allergic reactions, skin irritations, things like that. But that can also lead to lifting. So if you do get product on the skin, make sure that you grab an orange wood stick and clean that off before you cure, okay? You want to make sure you always clean off any product that you accidentally get on the skin. Try to avoid that as much as possible, but make sure that you do clean that off, okay? So again, this is going to go into the light. Oops, actually, you guys, I want to show you one other quick trick that I like to do is sometimes I will take a little bit more of that gel and just kind of drag it right through that connection area. So right where our natural nail and that extension come together, just to make sure that I've got enough product sealing those two together. Then I can get that back into the light and then we'll freeze that into place. Sometimes if I don't have enough product right there at that connection area, it can tend to break off if I'm removing my form. So I always want to make sure that I kind of re-enhance that connection area, okay? So again, this is going to go into the light for another 30-second freeze. Now, when you're working on a full set, you're always going to be in motion. So when one hand is in the light, you're going to be working on the other hand, unless you're working on yourself, and that's a whole different ball game. But you're always going to have one hand in the light while you're working on the other, and then just alternate back and forth as you're going, okay? But all it really needed was at least a 30-second freeze into that light. I'm going to take off my form, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow my gel, the next gel that I put on top, it's going to allow the gel to cure from the top down, but then also from the bottom up so that we get a really good, perfect cure all the way through. Okay, we're coming back to our Concealer Peach gel, the same one that I used to sculpt out that free edge. And we're going to start building up structure of the nail. Now, I know you guys, if you've been with me for a lot of my demos, I do a lot of glitters, a lot of design work. Today, we're just going to be doing a solid color nail, okay? We're going to do our design and artwork on the top, so don't worry, we're still going to be doing that. But what I'm going to start with to build our structure is I'm going to start right in the center of the nail. I'm not right at the cuticle. I'm, again, a little ways away, but I'm going to squeeze out a good amount of my gel onto the nail. And then I'm going to work in again, kind of that circular motion like we were working with our electric file. I'm going to work in a circular motion, and I'm going to just kind of stay on the surface of that gel guiding it out to the side. So when I'm working on my left side, I'm working in a counterclockwise motion, and then I'm going to come back to the center, kind of pushing that gel up a little bit. On my right side, I'm going to work in a clockwise motion. Okay, that way it's going to get my product all the way to my sides, all the way as close as I can to my cuticle, again without touching. Make sure that you're staying just a tiny little bit of space. Now, I know you guys on camera, it looks like there's a lot of space between my product and my cuticle. There's actually not that much. I think the camera adds space, adds distance, adds 10 pounds. We all know the story on that. But it is as close as I can get. I may even touch that up with my brush just to be sure, okay? But we'll come back to that in a little bit. Once I've got my cuticle area, let me come in a little so you guys can see. Okay, so once I've got my cuticle area done, I can squeeze out a little bit more of that gel onto the nail, and this is where we're going to start to build structure. I'm going to still kind of use those circular motions, or you can do just a back and forth, whatever is comfortable for you. But again, I'm staying kind of on the surface, and you see how, if I turn this on the side, do you see how I just kind of drag that little string of product? I'm really just using that to move the product. It's not like acrylic. We're not going to be doing pressing and bouncing or anything like that. I'm just squeezing out a little bit more product, staying connected to it, and just kind of dragging it into place and just kind of guiding it. I'm not trying to force it. I'm not trying to use a lot of pressure. Keep that nozzle right on the surface. And again, as you're working, if you feel like you need to add more product, I tend to add more product in the center of the nail and then work it out to the sides. So that way it doesn't start to run down the sides of the nail or again, get onto the skin or the cuticle or anything like that. Squeeze out a little bit more. Again, moving it out to the sides, down the nail, until you think you've got enough product that you need. Now don't worry, you can always add more. So get what you got on there, get what you need on there, and then we can always check it. We can pop it into the light to freeze it into place if you feel like it's running, if you feel like it's moving. I do have a little product coming off the edge. It's not actually touching the cuticle or not the sidewalls just yet, but I want to make sure to get that cleaned off. Okay, I'm going to grab my brush here, and like I was talking about earlier, I want to get right up close to that cuticle, those sidewalls, so that it's not touching, okay? And then just making sure everything is nice and even. Now, I know you guys, some of you guys in the chat, I think are saying that looks chunky, it looks lumpy, it's bumpy. You know what? I don't care. I'm gonna do some filing at the end, so I don't wanna spend the extra time making this 100% perfect. There's no need to, okay? I'm gonna get that into our light. I'm going to freeze that again for another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to take a look at it and we'll see if we need to add anything, okay? You guys, I know a lot of times people, when they're working with gel, they try to apply it and they're trying to get everything as smooth and as perfect as possible, and they mess around with it, they move it, they're working with it, and they spend so much time on that application, whereas you can just get that product on and file it off, okay? As long as you have your structure in there, it's gonna be just fine. So that's what I wanna check now, is I wanna check my structure. Do I need to add any more? If I take a look at this from the side, look, okay, come in here, nice and close. So you can see I've got nice and thin and tapered at my cuticle area. It comes up to a little bit higher point right up here. This is our arch. This is where we want our thickest point to be, and it looks like it comes up there. And then we also want it to come back down to our thinnest point down here at the free edge. Now you see these little lumps, these little bumps. That's okay, because those are actually going to file out, and I actually see that I've got really good structure all the way through this arch, okay? So if I needed to add any more though, I could just go ahead in, add a little bit more wherever I needed it. Say I needed a little bit more here. Add what you need to add. If you need to use your brush to kind of taper things in, fix anything, fill anything in, you can go ahead and do that. Now again, you guys, I didn't really need to add any more here. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that you can add more if you need to, and it's totally fine, okay? But at this point, we're gonna go back into the light. Now, we've been doing 30-second freezes on each of these layers. At this point, what we want to make sure to do is do a full 60-second cure. This is going to cure everything all the way through. It's going to cure the product from top down, from the bottom up, from the sides. It's going to cure everything all the way through, okay? So make sure that you do that final cure of 60 seconds all the way through, okay? All right, let me see if there's any quick questions I can see in the chat. You guys, feel free, put your questions in the chat. I do try to get to them, but sometimes as I'm teaching here, I miss them. But we love to see your questions. We've got a great team of moderators that do help to answer those questions. And again, you guys, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so that you can always get the notifications when we do go live and that you don't miss out any of this free, amazing education that we give to you. And you guys, usually we are here Monday through Friday. So make sure that you do join us on all of those days, okay? All right, I'm getting ready to do my filing. So I'm gonna put in my X-Cut carbide. This is a carbide bit. It is going to take down my product really quick and really easily. This is definitely not a bit that you wanna be using on a natural nail, okay? This one is going to shave down product. The only bit that I've shown you so far that you want to be using on a natural nail is our sanding band, okay? That's nice and safe for a natural nail. The X-Cut carbide or any other carbide bit is going to shave down product and it is going to be way too coarse for a natural nail, okay? All right, so we've got our cured out nail. I am going to remove my table towels here, get my dust extractor all set, and then I'm going to use a little bit more of my swipe, that first product that we used to cleanse the nail, okay? When our gel cures, it does have a tacky surface, so we want to use our swipe to cleanse off that tacky surface. Make sure that we are cleaning all of that off. And then the other thing, again, talking about keeping product off the skin, is make sure that when you wipe the nail, that you wipe away from that skin. You can fold your wipe over. You can wipe again. If you're starting to just come in and you scrub that nail and you scrub that nail and you get all of that tacky surface back up onto that cuticle, that's again exposing your client and exposing their skin to that, that product. We don't want to do that, okay? So always try to wipe away from the cuticle area, keeping that product off the skin. All right, let's turn on our dust collector here. Make sure that we are helping our lungs. Whoops, you guys, I just pulled apart my practice hand, so we're gonna be using our practice hand without the little, the rest of the arm on there. And you guys, this practice hand has been used and abused quite a bit, so that doesn't surprise me that that happened. Not a big deal. It's actually easy to fix, so. If that happens to you guys and you need help repairing your practice hands, give us a call at a customer service and we are more than happy to help you with that. Okay, so we've got our X-Cut carbide in here. I'm going to turn my E-file up to about 14,000 RPMs. And I'm going to work, let me come in a little bit here. I'm going to work on my sidewalls first. So I want to make sure that I'm cleaning up my sides here. See how we got that big old lumpy bumpy thing on the edge there. I'm going to just come straight down and smooth that out, okay? The same thing on the other side. I'm going to push up. So as a right-handed tech, you're working from the free edge back on the right-hand side when you're straightening your sidewalls. On the left-hand side, you're going to pull down, okay? You guys, you know what? If you bear with me really, really quickly, I am going to change out my little hand here. Got my back up here just for a little bit easier use. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and put that nail back in there. Alright. Okay, there we go, back on track here. So again, pulling forward on the left-hand side and then pushing up on the right-hand side. So that's going to help me straighten out my side. So again, those of you that were saying lumpy bumpy and all that, this is where it's going to get nice and smooth. And somebody is asking, where can I get that vacuum? This is actually our dust extractor. Let me come out and you can see. This one, it's our Young Nails Dust Extractor. I've personally mounted mine into my desktop here. Basically just cut a hole into the top of my desk, and it just sits right down in there. So you can either use it just over the surface of your desk, or if you are crafty, then you can install that into your table, okay? Youngnails.com though. All right, so we've got our sidewalls straightened out a little bit more. Now I'm gonna look at my side view here. Okay, you can see I've got a little bit of product that's hanging down. I'm gonna come in again with my X-cut, and I'm just gonna kind of taper that in. Because I used my brush when I first started sculpting to kind of drag that line up a little bit, I don't have a lot of work to do on those lower arches. So I'm not even gonna do anything on that side. I think we're good there. But I'm gonna show you also with the hand file how you can straighten those out as well, okay? Next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna readjust my little hand here. There we go, okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna look at this nail from our side view. Okay, so from this view, I'm gonna look at my arch, and I'm gonna file in my arch, and I wanna make sure that I'm getting that good structure. That's why I'm looking at it from the side view. If I were to just start filing looking like this, I have no idea how my arch is looking. I have no idea if my arch has a high point here, a high point there, a low point. We have no idea. That's why we always want to make sure that we're looking at it from the side, okay? We're going to come up around that cuticle area, just thinning and tapering right through here, okay? Then I'm going to come down the arch, just right down the center. I'm not trying to go all the way from side to side, just coming right down the center. And again, looking at that arch to make sure that I have that proper structure. I'm just kind of cutting in right down the arch of the nail, right down the middle of the nail. Again, not trying to come all the way across from side to side, okay? Now, I'm going to show you what happens if you do that properly. Once we're finished with that, I'm going to look from straight down the barrel. Okay, now you guys can see, if I look right through here, okay, right where I cut that arch, I've actually got a little bit of kind of a low spot, kind of a little trough in there. What we want to do now is I want to just pull my bit towards myself and even everything out from this side up to that arch that we just cut in, and then this side up to that arch that we just cut in. So this is going to help give our nice contour to that nail. And when we're looking from this direction, we're kind of using that arch that we cut in as our guide. We're bringing everything even with that. And let's see, I think it was Chanel, or I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. Somebody's asking in the chat, what bit is this? This is our X-Cut carbide. This is a carbide bit. It's going to shave down our product nice and quick and easily. I'm not using any pressure. I'm just basically making contact with my bit and pulling all the way through that length. So now you guys can see it's really starting to get that nice contour, that nice rounded kind of shape. I'm going to take a look one more time from the side view, make sure everything is, again, still right where I want it. And I think we are good with that, okay? Let's go on to our next step. So once I have the bulk of my product taken down with my X-Cut, I like to go in with my sanding band now. I come back to that to help really refine. So what I'm going to do is go through those same motions. I'm going to turn my speed down now. It's going to be about 7,000 RPMs. And I'm going to just come right up around that cuticle area again, making sure everything is nice and tapered. If you didn't quite get as close as you wanted with that X-Cut, it's totally fine. That's why I'm coming back through with my sanding band. So this way, again, I can really get everything tapered, and it's a lot easier to do all of these steps with your electric file rather than trying to jump right in with your hand file. The more work we can do with our electric file, the easier it's going to be on our bodies. It's easier on our hands, our arms, our shoulders, all of that. So that's why I'm coming through refining with my sanding band. Much easier than doing everything with the hand file. Okay? I'm going to to come back just a little bit more right through that lower arch. And I think my lower arch again on this side was okay. Okay, so now you can see that my nail is really pretty good. I have a couple of little things to touch up, and that's all I'm really going to do is touch up. I'm going to start on my sidewalls, and okay, there we go. So I'm going to touch up my sidewalls, and I'm going to file basically straight along, so straight right through here, and then once my nail starts to come into that almond shape, then I'll shift my file here. But I always like to start by keeping that kind of that nail body area a little bit more straight, and then I can come into that curve, okay? And then just nice and flow through. Now you guys, as I'm filing, do you notice how all you see of my file is that blue line? Okay, that blue line right down the center here. I don't see that gray area. If I start to see that gray, that means that I'm going to be cutting into those sidewalls, and it may end up putting a little notch in the corner, okay? So make sure when you're working on your sidewalls, you keep your file straight in line with the finger and straight up and down, okay? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, straight in line with the finger, and then straight into our almond shape here, okay? And I'm not going to be too particular about my actual free edge shape right down here. I'm going to show you a little bit later how to really perfect that shaping there. So I'm just going to kind of do a rough shape of that free edge, but still cleaning up my sidewalls the best that I can, okay? Now let's take a look at those lower arches again. I'm going to turn my client's hand on the side, and yes, I actually do turn their hand on the side like this, and I'm going to bring my file right underneath that lower arch. Do you see how I again keep that file straight in line with the finger? I'm not angling it up like this. I'm not trying to cut up into that corner. I'm not angling here, straight in line with that finger, okay? I'm going to come right down that lower arch until that product is all, again, straight out from the finger. We'll turn my client's hand on the other side. And again, same thing. I'm going to position my file at the lowest point of my product, straight in line with the finger, and then just file until that product comes up nice and even. Whoops, sorry guys, we're wobbling a little bit here. Okay, so nice and even, straight out from that natural nail. Okay. At this point, I'm going to come right up around that cuticle area, and again, tapering all the way through that cuticle. Now, because we already came in with that sanding band right up in there, I don't really have a whole lot to file. There's not a whole lot of an edge. I'm just, again, refining at this point, okay? Coming down around my edges here, making sure everything is nice and rounded, nice and contoured. We don't have, when we did our filing here, we kind of put a straight edge in there. So now I just want to make sure that I'm rounding that out, okay? Kind of filing in a curved direction, okay? All right, all the way around my edges, again, making sure everything is contoured. And I'm going to take a quick look kind of from the side view. So I'm going to look right from about here. I've got a little bit more thickness right through my free edge. I'm going to kind of taper that down just a little bit. I think we're good there. I think we're good from the other side. Now, here is the big trick, you guys. If you don't do this yet, you need to start, okay? Turn your client's hand around so that you can see exactly what they see. So when they go to look at their nails, they're going to be looking from this direction. That's exactly how we want to look at this nail here. So we can see, is it straight? If it's not, taper it in a little bit more, clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up. And this is where I really perfect that free edge shape, especially when you're working stilettos or almond shape. This is how I really make sure to perfect that nice little point, okay? So coming in right through there, cleaning everything up. Now we're gonna look backwards down the barrel. So I'm gonna look from this direction here, okay? So do I see any high spots, any low spots, anything that needs to be filed? I can take care of from this direction. And you guys, again, if you don't check your nails from this direction, you're going to be amazed, okay? Once you start looking from this direction, a lot of those little things that you missed from that front view are really going to show. And this is how you're really going to start to perfect your shaping, okay? Making sure that you are looking from the left side, from the right side, from the straight down the barrel, and then turn that client's hand around and look backwards down the barrel, okay? Always want to check from all of your different directions so that you see everything is going to look different from a different direction. But if you check from all your different directions, you're going to catch all of those little lumps and bumps, all of those uneven spots, and anything that you would need to clean up, okay? All right, let's turn off our dust collector here. I'm going to put my table towels back up so I have a nice clean space to work on again. I'm gonna grab that one right here. Yes, crystal glitter bug, get up close and personal. Absolutely. All right. So now we've got our nail itself completed. Now, what I'm gonna do, here's something that it's kind of a questionable kind of a step. I'm actually going to go through just really lightly with my buffer, okay? Now, I'm not going to go through and buff the whole thing. I'm not going to make it super, super smooth. Then I've got a brand new buffer here. I'm just going to lightly kind of refine my edges a little bit and just a quick little kind of buff through. Again, I'm not going to try to create a whole super smooth surface. What I am going to do is just give myself a little bit of a smoother texture so that when I do my art design, you're not going to see any of those little scratch marks on the nail, okay? Again, just a tiny little bit of buffing. That's it. That's all we want to do. Just a little bit, okay? All right, so I'm going to dust this nail off. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you for all the hands, the waves, whatever that emoji is in the chat. Thank you guys so much. I love it. I love seeing all of that encouragement in there. And that lets me know that you guys are enjoying this live session, okay? If you're enjoying it, thank you again for those little emojis in the chat. Definitely hit that subscribe button so that you can always join us again, okay? All right, next thing. Oh, Christoph thought it was a crab. I don't think it's a crab. I think it's a waving hand, but whatever you see. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is our swipe, okay? We're gonna cleanse this nail off again. And at this point, depending on what you wanna do to finish the nail, you could go into your protein bond and you could top coat, you could do whatever art you wanna do. It's totally up to you at this point, okay? What I'm gonna show you is something that I've been seeing a lot of recently is kind of that aura look on the nail. And it's kind of where you've got that little bit of color in the center and then it just kind of fades out, kind of like a magic design, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to clean off my mixing tile here. I'm just going to use a little bit of either polish remover, acetone, just give that a quick wipe so that, again, I've got a nice clean space to work on. And Izzy's asking, what causes your swipe to go from that blue to clear? If you have your swipe in maybe a lot of sunlight or it's a warmer area, that blue can kind of fade out. It's not to worry about. It's just the dye in there. It's not a big deal. So don't worry about that, Izzy's nails. You are just fine, okay? All right, so what I've got here is our emission control gel paint, and this one is called Mega Jam. This is one of my favorite colors. I absolutely love it. I am going to go in with one more coat of my protein bond. This is going to give our nail a really good tacky surface for our gel paint to adhere to. It's going to, again, cover up any of those scratch marks, give us a really good bond when we do our design here. Okay. All right, let's see here. Excuse me. Okay, you guys. Again, if you've been with me for a while here, you know that I normally use our rose gold magic wand, but it's out of commission at the moment. It's in disinfectant, so I'm going to use my old school magic wand. Now, our magic wand has a little, it's got the cuticle pusher on one end, but then it's got a little tweezer kind of a tool on the other, okay? And yes, Claudia, this is an old jar of Mission Control, but you guys, you can see how long this product lasts. A little bit goes a long way. So I've actually had this product for quite some time. It's starting to get to the end of the product, but it still works great. So don't worry if you still have the old school stuff. All right, so again, I'm going to use the little tweezer end of our magic wand, and I'm going to grab just, you guys, these are makeup sponges. So it's nothing fancy. You can get them pretty inexpensive. They're pretty cheap. I cut them up into a small piece, and then I kind of fold it so that I've got just like a little, kind of a little knob at the end, okay? And then I'm going to use my magic wand, and I'm going to grab onto, whoops, this is the hardest part of the design, you guys. So if you can do this part, you're good. If you can get your little piece of sponge into your magic wand, you're good to go. Okay, so it's got like just kind of a little knob right at the end here. Okay, Phyllis is asking, is that a pinching tool? Yes, this is our magic wand. It now comes, this is our old version of it, sorry guys. It now comes in a beautiful rose gold color. So it works still exactly the same, still the same design and everything. It's just in rose gold color nowadays. Okay, so I've got my little sponge. I've got my Mission Control, what do we got here? Mega Jam. And I've got a little spatula here. I'm going to take out a little bit of that gel paint, and a little bit goes a long way, you guys. So I'm not going to take out too much, just kind of a little dab right at the end. And we're going to put that right onto my mixing tile. Okay. All right, let me readjust so you guys will be able to see really good. And John is asking, what design are you trying to achieve? I'm going to be doing an aura kind of a look. So it's going to start with a little bit of a darker product, darker color in the middle, and then it's just going to kind of fade out to the sides. Okay, I'm going to take my little makeup sponge, dab that into my gel paint, and then we're going to start right in the center of the nail. Now you may have to look at this from a different angle to make sure that you're centered. But it's okay, just kind of tilt the nail on the side. See, I was a little bit off to the side, so I'm going to come over a little bit more into the center. Okay, so I've got a little bit, my product right into the center of the nail, and I'm just going to start to kind of dab. And then I'm going to work in a little bit of a circular motion, and again, I'm starting in the center, but then I'm going to start to work out to the sides, work up back to that cuticle. So it really just kind of starts to get that color faded out to the edges, okay? And if you feel like you've got too much paint on your sponge, go ahead and tap it back onto your tile. If you need more color, go ahead and dab it back into your paint, and then come back to that nail. Now I'm going to probably do this in a couple of coats. So on my first coat, I really just want to make sure I get kind of the outline of where I want my color. And you guys, don't worry if you feel like as you're working, maybe you don't like how it's turning out, go ahead and grab a lint-free wipe and wipe off some of that color, okay? It's not gonna set until you put it into the light to cure it. So if you feel like it's not perfect, it's not how you wanted it, go ahead and wipe it off. Start over again. No big deal on that. But again, do you see how it's just kind of starting to fade out a little bit? I'm gonna take a little bit of that off of my sponge, and I'm just going to soften it right around the edges. Oops, sorry guys. Right around the edges of that design. And you guys, as I work, I know some of you have said that I sound like Bob Ross, but I start to really get into it. I really get, you know, kind of focused and into that design. So yes, I do start to sound like Bob Ross. Okay, so we've got our kind of our fade already started. I'm going to get this into the light. And when I'm working with our Mission Control gel paints, I really only need to get this into the light for maybe a quick 10-second freeze. Okay, make sure again that you don't have any gels or anything in front of the light that are going to cure. Okay, Crystal Glitterbug, this is how to airbrush without an airbrush. Absolutely, this is exactly what it's going to kind of look like. It kind of looks like an airbrush design. So if you don't have an airbrush, this is a great way to do this technique. Are gel paints and gel polish the same? No, actually our gel paints, the ones that I'm working with here is the Mission Control. So our gel paints are a little bit different consistency, and they're very, very pigmented. You can use them as a gel polish, but these don't have that tacky surface. So if you're looking for, you know, adding glitters into a glitter press or something like that, it's not going to have that tacky surface. I would still use a top coat over these though, just to make sure. Okay. Claudia's asking, would it be harder or easier to use with cream clays? I'm going to be honest, I tried it with the new cream clays, and because the new cream clays have so much glitter to them, I had a little bit of a trickier time kind of getting that blend. but you can, I think you can definitely use the more solid colors. Okay, so give those a try. If you feel like you've got some colors in the cream clays that you want to work with, you can definitely work with those as well. It's just a slightly different kind of a consistency, okay? Okay, so again, I'm just kind of giving it another coat to really darken up that color in the center a little bit more. And again, I'm going to tap out some of that extra and then coming right around that edge to really blend out the edge of my color. Right around that edge. Okay, I think we're good there. And then let's get that back into the light. Okay, this time I'm gonna do a 30-second cure on that to give it just a little bit more of a cure so that I can do my next part of my design. And the next part is we're gonna be using our striper paints. Now we do have we have black in the Mission Control. If you prefer to use that with a liner brush, you can definitely do that. I love using our liner striper brushes with our gel paints because for me, they're just much easier to use. So it's just like a gel polish, but it has that striper brush in it. So super, super easy, okay? So let's add a little bit of another design on here. Another little dimension of our nail, okay? And again, I'm just gonna grab, all right, set that off to the side. So when I'm working with my striper paints, you can see when I first pull that brush out, there's a lot of paint on there. A little bit of this goes a long way, you guys. It's really, really pigmented. So I'm gonna just kind of wipe off some of that extra. I don't want it kind of globbing onto the nail or anything like that, okay? I'm just gonna do a couple of little accent lines. Yeah, maybe right there. Maybe we'll take a little bit more of that paint and just kind of create a little accent line. And a lot of times what I like to do is instead of just having your line kind of fade out at the end, I like to add a little bit more shape to it. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm starting to get shaky. I need to breathe. Okay, now I can go on. Anytime I try to do line work, I do tend to get shaky because it is so detailed. Take a second, breathe, can maybe shake out your hands if you need to, and that way it'll help to keep you a little bit more stable. Okay, but what I was saying is I like to add a little bit more texture to the end of my line. So I'm just kind of rounding out the ends a little bit, adding just a little more interest to it. Okay, same thing on the end here. We'll just kind of round that out a little bit. So again, instead of having just a straight line coming off the end, now you can see we've got a little bit more shape to it, okay? Chicken nugget, the black thing that I'm using, this is our Young Nails Striper Gels. This is the black called Umbrella. And again, let's grab another little bit of our striping paint. And maybe we'll do a line right through here. And you guys, be as creative as you want to. Add your lines wherever you want to. Create your dimension, create your style, create your design. And again, just adding a little bit more, I like to call it interest. I think that's just a fun way of describing it. When you kind of round out those edges a little bit, create a little bit more than just that straight line, okay? Same thing on our other end here. Round that out a little bit. Okay, and again, you guys, I'm sorry, apparently I cannot talk and draw lines at the same time. Now, again, if you do get any product on the skin, make sure that you do clean that off before you cure. You want to always be very careful, avoiding the skin as much as possible. Okay. All right, so let's get that back into our light for just another 30-second freeze. Pop that back in. And should we add one more element today? Let me know in the chat. What do you think? One more element or top coat? Do we want a top coat right away? One more element? Let me know. What do you think? The anime girls, keep making more, please. If you guys want us to keep making more videos, keep doing more live demos, make sure that you subscribe, because that is how we know that you guys want more education, okay? So hit that subscribe button. Let me know. One more element. Yes. All right, you guys, I love it. I love how you think. I'm so excited that you're saying one more element, because something super fun that I'm loving still for the summertime, you guys, are our rhinestone collection. I know you guys wanted chrome. I've done chrome a little bit recently, but I'm going to work with our rhinestone collection here today because we've got some really fun, bright, neon-y kind of stones here. So I'm going to use some of those today. Now, what I'm going to use is, I've got just a little thing that you can, again, get these at the craft store or something like that. Something to put your stones into. For me, this is a little bit easier than trying to sort them out from in here. So what I like to do is, where'd my cuticle pusher go? Is I usually like to take a little bit of those stones. I'll just kind of scoop those up. Oops, let me just set this off to the side here. There you guys, now you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to take a scoop of those into my little, it's actually, I think, a bead organizer. Again, you can get them at craft stores. Makes it super easy. Okay. And then I'm also going to grab out of our collection here. So in here we do have our little stone picker upper tool. And that's my technical word for it, stone picker upper tool. Okay. You guys, if you haven't used these stones yet, you gotta love them. They're so fun. They're so pretty. So give them a try. Okay. All right. Let's come in here. And let me grab, okay, I'm going to be using our Ultimate Finish top coat, and I'm going to do just a thin layer of this on the nail, and then we'll set our stones into place. Now I'm using smaller stones. If you're using bigger stones, you may need to use you could use the clear Sculptor from the Precision Tubes. You could use, some people I know like to use just a brush on glue to set their stones, and then they will cap them. Personal preference, but again, because I'm working with smaller stones today, I think our Ultimate Finish is going to be enough top coat to adhere these. Okay, and it looks like I've got a lovely piece of lint somewhere on here. So let's see if I can get that off of there. I tell you guys, lint is it's a nail tech's worst nightmare. Okay, I think we got it there. So I've got my my Ultimate Finish top coat, and I'm just going to use my little picker upper tool here, grab a couple of those stones. Let me clean that off, make sure there was something a little sticky on there. And we'll just set our stones, again, wherever you guys feel like they should be. I'm just going to kind of outline my little black lines here, and we'll come up here. And the nice thing about this little tool, it's kind of a wax end, so it'll stick to those stones and it'll pick them up nice and easy, but it doesn't stick to really anything else. So it's going to work really good for picking up and placing your rhinestones. And let's just kind of outline our little black line here. And then on the other end of the tool, it's actually kind of a setting tool. So if you work with it straight up and down, it'll actually kind of grip the top, kind of that rounded, that curved area of your stones and those little facets in there. And this way you can really move them and position them right where you want it. So I think we are good right there. I think these are going to be good right here. I think that's going to be fun. And then I'm just going to pop that back into the light again for, I would say, either a 10 to 30 second freeze, okay? And then we're going to show you how to really seal your stones in, because I know a lot of times people have a hard time keeping their stones on, but here's the trick that I'm going to show you. We're going to get our little mixing tile back out. I'm going to take a little bit more of my top coat. I'm going to put that right onto my mixing tile, and I'm going to grab my liner brush. And I think we're good in the light. So we've got top coat on the whole nail, but what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that top coat and run it right around. You know what? And let me grab a different brush. I think this one looked a little bit frayed, and I don't want to struggle with it today. So I'm just going to grab another brush. Make life easier. You guys, it's always nice to have kind of a second tool just in case for certain things. So I always have a couple of different liner brushes, especially because liner brushes are very delicate. And sometimes, if you put it away wonky, it's got a little brush bristle that sticks out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of that top coat and just run it right around, just a tiny little bit, right around the base of my stones, just to really seal that in. Okay, it's kind of like, I always use the example of a diamond ring. So you got those little facets, or you got your diamond ring, and you got the part of the, what do you call it? Facets? No, that's not the right word. You guys know what I'm talking about. What holds the diamond into the setting, okay? It holds the base of it, but it doesn't come up around the top of the diamond. That's exactly what we're trying to do here, is we're just kind of trying to seal all the way around each of those stones so that it's got something holding that stone onto the nail. So it's really going to adhere it, and these stones are not going to have any issues popping off, okay? Let's go ahead and give those one final cure in our light. And this is going to go in for a full 60-second cure, okay? Prongs. Sharon Moore, prongs. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, so you guys, when you have, let me come back here. So when you have that diamond in your ring, pretend this is our diamond, you have those prongs. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. So you've got your diamond. You've got those prongs that come up around it and hold that diamond into place. That's what we're trying to do with this little bit of top coat around the base, is really just kind of seal the base of that stone on the nail. We don't want to get any of that top coat over the top of it, because what that's going to do is it's going to cover up that shine from those stones. The stones have a little bit of texture. They have shape to them, and that's what gives them their sparkle and their shine. And if you put top coat over that, it's going to cover up that sparkle and shine, okay? So make sure that you don't get top coat over the top. Just come around the base. Sue Turner is saying claws. Yes, claws, prongs, whatever you got to call it, but yes, okay? So we got just a couple more seconds on our nail here. We got our nail cured out, ready to go. So now, you guys can see our final look here. We've got our summer aura nail with some stones and some highlights with our black. What do you guys think? Think it's something that you guys can try, something you can do on your own nails, or you can do on your clients' nails? What do you think? Are you going to try this out today? Let me know. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's live stream. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can always join us again. And I hope you guys come back and see us again. And we should be back again tomorrow, same time, usually around 1 o'clock Pacific time. Okay? Thank you guys all for joining us. I appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.